Hi everyone, Matthew Moniz here, and this is the Essential Phone. I have some words to say about it. Some of them are great, and others are not so good. So here's my full review. Let's start off with what I like, and the first thing is obviously the design. This thing is absolutely gorgeous and hands down one of the most beautiful phones I've held all year. Titanium sides, ceramic back, makes it feel a lot different than what you're used to. The benefit of this is that ceramic doesn't scratch nearly as easily, so if you drop it on the floor, you're less likely to break it. And the titanium edges, even though they do scratch slightly easier than the ceramic, they're still very durable. And because they're using this type of material, it feels a lot heavier in the hand, so there's actually some heft to the phone. Now there is no headphone jack, which is very disappointing, especially considering the thickness of this device. There is a USB Type-C port, you have one mono speaker, which gets very loud, but it's not the most clear mono speaker I've listened to lately. And the SIM card is on the bottom, and right beside it is the microphone, so just be careful when you place it inside, don't poke the microphone by accident. Now let's talk about the back of the phone. I mean, everything is completely flush with the back. The cameras are flush, there's two magnetic pins right beside it, which allow you to attach modules. Much better implementation than what Motorola is doing. You can just attach it to the top. If they change the design 2 years down the road, it's not going to affect you because all you need is those two pins anywhere on the phone. Fingerprint scanner is so flush with the body that sometimes you kind of mispress it and it takes a second to log into. And the cameras are one color and one monochrome, which I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later. Now let's talk about the beautiful bezel-less display. It's LCD, so it's not AMOLED, and there's a little bit of a chin on the bottom to house the LCD drivers. It has around 400 to 500 nits of brightness, so it's not the most bright display, but you can kind of see it outdoors in direct sunlight. I love the fact that they were able to put the front-facing camera right at the top and have the display go around it. And people ask me, Matt, how does it look? Does it bother you on a day-to-day basis? Quite frankly, it doesn't. You get used to it after about 10 minutes, and there's ways around it. So when you watch a video, there's black bars, so you don't actually see the front-facing camera, so everything looks quite normal. If you look very closely, you're not going to see an earpiece, but if you look even closer, you can see a little slit at the top of the phone where the earpiece is embedded inside. Now I found this a very clever design, but I also find that lint gets stuck in there very easily, so just keep an eye on it and clean it out every once in a while. Let's move on to the performance, and this is a spec'd out phone. Snapdragon 835, 4GB of RAM, but you know what? I've been using this phone for the past couple of weeks. I don't find it to be the smoothest phone on the market. I've had touch delays, I've had micro lag. Sometimes I have to tap things twice for my finger to register. Also, if I restart the phone, it would hang on the powering down screen, which was quite frustrating. And the only way to get around it is by doing a hard reset. These are little things that should have been ironed out before the phone was released. And I know some of you are out there like, Matt, it's a startup. These things happen. There's always bugs. When stock Android's being used and when you have specs like this, there's really no excuse. On top of that, the person who's running this company is Andy Rubin. He's the one who invented Android. He's created hardware in the past for Google. So there's really no excuse when you buy a $700 smartphone. Speaking of things I don't like, I really don't like the camera on the back. There's two 13 megapixel sensors. They have an aperture of f1.9. One's color, one's monochrome. They work together to produce really good images. But the problem is those images are not good. And yeah, you can argue like having a monochrome sensor lets you take black and white photos, but how many times have you been outside lately and said, hey, you know what? Right now I'd love to take a black and white photo. Not too often. And on top of that, the image quality is not good. So unless it's daylight and the lighting is perfect, you'll get a good image, but forget about shooting at night. Low light is just terrible. And on top of that, there's no optical image stabilization, so you're gonna get shaky footage. This is one of the areas that this phone fails hard. And you know what? Like I said before, if you're spending $700 and you're competing against the Galaxy S8 and the LG G6, you need to have a good camera. All right, let's talk about something positive again. I do like the battery life of this phone. 3,040 milliamps, I can go a day to a day and a half without needing to charge. There is no wireless charging, unfortunately, but they do plan on releasing a wireless module that you can attach to your phone. Alright, so here's my closing thoughts. I really love the design of the Essential phone. It's attractive, the bezel display is gorgeous, and more phones are going to look like this going into 2018. And it also has good battery life. But besides that, it doesn't really offer anything special. There's no headphone jack, there's no wireless charging, there's no water resistance, and there's no micro SD card. Why would you want to buy this over something like the Galaxy S8 or the LG V30? On top of that, the camera experience is terrible. Slow to load, doesn't take great photos, and having that extra monochrome sensor doesn't really offer any advantages over something like a telephoto lens or a wide zoom lens. So for those of you out there considering buying this phone, I would hold off. I don't think it's worth $700 when you get much better features from competing products. I think 6 months down the road with a few more software updates, things will be ironed out, but even then, it's still not worth it. I think this is a good first attempt. Next year when they release version number 2, I think we'll have something special. So that wraps up my review of the Essential phone. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and as always, I will see you in the next video.